then enter DSP. Now, this is the part right here that the DSP token, or the DeFi staking platform token, really makes Hex look quite scammy. Like, this is it right here. Today, we're going to be talking about the Hex token, and we're going to be talking about the DSP token. I'm here to tell you right now, DSP token, the DeFi staking platform, is at this very moment, for me personally, one of the most financially or cryptocurrency based wealth generating, I don't know how else to say it. It's one of the best return on investments I've experienced, definitely in 2021. It is ridiculously unbelievable, but it's fascinating because it started from Hex. And I think there are some, I'm going to go over some things right now that is going to piss some people off, but I'm just going to be, you know me, I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be upfront about it. And we're going to get started. Before we do, I want to just say this. If you love cryptocurrency and you want to earn a passive income in cryptocurrency, be sure to go down in the description, subscribe to our Passive Profits newsletter, Crypto Passive Profits newsletter. That's all about earning passive income in cryptocurrency. Now, what I'm going to talk about today, for me, has been something that is, it's been very rewarding, but it's you know, I don't know. I'm going to do a video in the future about how long I think it could last, but 30, 60, 90 days. These income streams are income streams that could potentially last for years, and who knows, maybe even decades. Maybe even decades. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to build a growing passive income that could last for years and years and years, ideally. But today, we're talking about Hex. We're talking about the DSP token. Let's get started. And by the way, if you're totally brand new and you're like, I don't know what Hex is, I don't know what the DSP token is, don't worry about it. We'll get you there. If you have heard of the DSP token online, because right now it's kind of a craze, if you've heard about it, but you don't understand what Hex is, then you definitely don't want to make certain that you watch this video in its entirety to the end, because I'm going to explain where DSP started from, essentially. And let's just start at the beginning. Hex token was created by none other than Mr. Richard Hart. Richard Hart is a gentleman who was a Bitcoin maximalist previously. A Bitcoin maximalist is someone who really believes in the future of Bitcoin. They believe that Bitcoin use case as a currency is the #1 use case in the world, and they believe that Bitcoin above all else is the best cryptocurrency, and yada yada, nothing else matters. However, over time, one reason or another, he decided that, look, there's some problems with Bitcoin. It's not innovating. Some things are happening. And I got to say this for Richard. You don't have to love his project Hex, which, by the way, I actually do hold some Hex tokens. But I've been critical of Hex, and I think fairly so. But let's talk about Richard. One of the things that I love about Richard, you can love him, you can love Hex, you can hate Hex. But you cannot deny his live streams before the Hex token launched were some of the most enlightening, entertaining live streams ever in the cryptocurrency space. I mean, if you are an objective thinking person, even if you love Bitcoin as much as I do, if you're an objective thinking person, you have to admit that his live streams were somewhat thought provoking, and he destroyed a lot of Bitcoin maximalists in outright debates. Now, his live streams and his personality and his intellect related to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, all that aside, he created the Hex token. Now, his reason for creating the Hex token, he said that there's a lot of things that Bitcoin could not do or didn't do well, and Hex was basically to answer to some of those things. The reality is, Hex isn't the answer to most of those things. Ethereum is the answer to most of those things. Hex is built on the Ethereum blockchain. That's important. One way to think about it is Ethereum's the mother, and Hex is the baby, so to speak. Hex basically rides on top of the Ethereum blockchain. That's probably the easiest way to try to explain it. The idea behind Hex was it served as a certificate of deposit. Those of you, at least in the US, that's what they're called, a bank CD for cryptocurrency. And I know that sounds kind of crazy. We're going to watch this video. It's a short video. About a minute of it here is going to kind of break it down for you a little bit. And let's watch this video, then we'll get back to it.
The invention of cryptocurrencies brought us alternatives to the traditional financial system. Hex is the next step in that evolution, designed to replace high-interest time deposit savings accounts. Stake your Hex coins for a fixed time period, and once your stake expires, Hex pays you the interest you're owed. The longer...
Now, when he's talking about time deposit, he's talking about CDs, like bank CDs. He calls it a time deposit. I think that's kind of because there's a different name for those in various countries. But he's basically talking about the same thing as a CD. A CD in the US, you're able to make a deposit in a bank. You can lock it up in a CD. You can't get access to it, but you get a certain rate of return of interest for keeping it locked up in the CD. And this was his answer. Hex was his answer to trying to create that, or attempting to create that on the blockchain. I don't think he fully succeeded. I'll explain why in a moment. But this was his attempt to create that on the blockchain.
For lockdown period you choose, the higher interest rate you receive. Hex is a smart contract built on top of the Ethereum network, providing you trustless, decentralized interest without any banking fees or middlemen. Bitcoin miners generate about 650,000 coins a year in total. They have to sell most of it to cover their high electricity costs, forcing down the price of Bitcoin on the market. Rather than paying miners, Hex pays the stakers instead, who have no mining costs, pushing down the price of Hex. And the more people stake their coins, the less will be available on the market for buyers, which in turn increases the price of Hex. However, if less people stake, then the contract automatically increases the amount of interest earned by the remaining stakers. This balance ensures that it's always beneficial to be a staker.
Okay, so the challenge is with Hex, he talks about earning interest. But here's what's important for you to understand. Here's kind of how Hex worked. So you have your main cryptocurrency in Hex, it's Ethereum. You lock it up in or use the auction lobby to basically get the token, but then you stake it. Once you stake it, you earn interest, but the interest that you get back is in the crypto token. The crypto token in this case is Hex. So your main cryptocurrency is Ethereum. You buy it in the auction lobby. I'll explain how the auction lobby works in a moment. Once you buy it, you stake it. And that's in the time deposit he's talking about. You stake it or you lock it up. And you earn interest. There's calculations on how that works. Basically, if people will lock it up for 3 months, 30 days, or a year, and they break that, they decide they have to unstake early, there's a penalty. That penalty is paid in Hex. With Hex, once you use Ethereum to buy Hex, you never get Ethereum back. You only get Hex tokens. And the idea is you earn interest. And that interest over time, there's a complex calculation, but that interest over time, you basically end up earning more Hex tokens. And so that's important for you to understand. That's where Hex is. By the way, this whole diagram here is us versus them. Them being the developers, Richard Hart, whoever it is. It's the other side of the coin. So we take our Ethereum, we go into the auction lobby, we get Hex. And I'll show you how an auction lobby works in a moment. We stake the Hex for a certain amount of time. The longer you stake it, the more Hex you get. The idea is that Hex has a value and hopefully maintains a value. Now, at this very point, Hex has went up to some crazy number. Let me see if it shows it up here. I don't see it. It went up like 10,000% or something some crazy number. Hex went up after it launched because there's a lot of hype, and give Hex credit. It was the OG. I mean, a lot of time, a lot of thought process, a lot of work went into creating Hex. No question about it. Richard Hart had it audited multiple times, the contract, because he didn't want it to be able to get hacked. He wanted to put out some sort of a good working project. And from that standpoint, he did a great job. Now, one of the issues with Hex that people talk about, people get upset. They say that basically it's a complex form of thievery, essentially. They claim, okay, you use Ethereum to buy Hex in the auction lobby. Again, I'll explain how the auction lobby works in a minute. But Richard Hart or somebody, the Ethereum goes somewhere. Nobody knows exactly where, but you can assume it's on the developer side. The developer has to know where it goes. The Ethereum goes to the developer. The Hex goes back out to us. But what do you do with the Hex? And if Hex is so awesome, how come the developer didn't just, make certain he got Hex? Why didn't he lock up the Ethereum, for example, in the Uniswap exchange? That would push the value up. See, that's thinking right there. Use all that Ethereum, lock it up on the Uniswap lobby. That pushes the volume up. Watch, some devs are going to do that. That pushes the volume up. And then you get paid back out in this time deposit token. In this case, the token is Hex. But then enter DSP. Now, this is the part right here that the DSP token or the DeFi staking platform token really makes Hex look quite scammy. Like, this is it right here. So with the DSP token, it works very similar, except you go in with Tron. That's the mother blockchain, if you will, and DSP token rides on top of Tron. So Tron, you go into an auction lobby to get the DSP token. Same thing. The token comes out. You end up holding you stake the token. You earn the same type of staking rewards or time deposit rewards, whatever you want to call it, in DSP. But this is where it changes right here. This is the whole part that changes. Instead of this whole thing here, instead of 100% staying here with the developer, 5% stays with the developer. The other 95%, this is what's crazy. Like, this is the game changer. The other 95% basically goes back to all of the stakeholders. So it's the exact same mechanism as Hex, except at the end of after you stake Hex, 24 hours later, whatever comes into the auction lobby, here, all the Tron that comes in, instead of 100% of it going to the developer or some wallet the developer controls and nobody knows where it goes, 95% of it comes back over here to everyone who's staking. And that right there is really, because you look at that and you're like, wait a minute. So Richard Hart may have just found a clever way to earn a fortune selling people on a concept and an idea. I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm not saying that his intents aren't legitimate. I have no proof of that. I can't judge the man's character outright. But here's what I will tell you. It does make sense where you're like, well, why not give it back to the stakers? I think part of the reason you don't give it back is because it devalues the token. If you can have Tron or you can have DSP tokens, what would you rather have? The average person would say, I would rather have Tron. Now, there's some advantages to owning the DSP tokens, but because of this mechanism here going into the lobby, the advantage to owning the DSP tokens goes down over time, meaning the tokens lose value. I'll explain that. Let's go look at DSP. This will make a bit more sense for you. So with the DSP token, take a look at this. This is the auction lobby. This has been the absolute most lucrative thing I have ever done this year for sure in crypto, maybe all time in crypto. Like, it is absurd. It is absolutely absurd at how well this is working. They basically I don't know that this proves a certificate of deposit model. I think what it really does more than anything else is it kind of breaks the theory of Hex. Like, it kind of shows you the weak point in Hex. But I do think there's a way that they could potentially improve on this model so it actually surpasses Hex. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm not going to say the devs are going to do it. I have no idea who the devs are behind the DSP platform. No clue whatsoever. No idea. But I'll talk about that in a minute. So here's how it works. You come over here. I got 1,000 Tron in. Look at this. 14 million. 14 million Tron came in yesterday. That's crazy. 15 million came in the day before. What? I don't know the price of Tron right now. I think it's probably 2.5 cents, maybe 2 cents. Let's just say it's 2 cents. It's probably over 2 cents. But at 2 cents, a million Tron is $20,000. So look at this. This is what? 20,000. I mean, that's what is that? $2 million? $1 million would be 20,000. Is that $2 million? $2.5 million? That's crazy. $2.5 million. $2.5 million. I mean, going in daily. That's crazy. And this is totally brand new. We just started. We totally just started. Started at 4 million, 4 million, 5, 9, 14. And keep in mind, every day, 95% of this gets distributed to all the token holders who purchase here as long as they staked in the platform. As long as you stake in the platform. It's crazy. And by the way, if you buy DSP tokens with the link in the description, you actually get 5% more DSP tokens. Now, I'm not necessarily recommending that you buy DSP tokens because, as with all things in crypto, this is very, very risky. No question about it. I told you I don't even know who the developers are. But if you choose to come in, at least make certain that you get your 5% extra tokens. And they give me, I think, 10% as well, extra tokens when you purchase, just so you know. But the way the auction lobby works is you just click enter. You put in the amount of Tron that you want to go in. Now, my strategy in the auction lobby, I think this, listen, Richard Hart created this concept right here. I think this part is brilliant. It kind of prevents whales from like dominating. There's no real advantage to coming in with like, you know, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million Tron. You don't want to be the one who carries the volume on a single day, because what happens is there's only so many DSP tokens that go out every day. And it drops by like 40,000 a day, I think. There's only so many available. So there was more yesterday that went out. There was more the day before. Every day they're dropping. That's smart. Every single day the tokens available are dropping. You come in with 1,000 Tron. At the end of the day, right now there's 6.9 million. They'll probably 10 million or more by tonight in another 5 hours. They'll be, and by the way, in another 5 hours and 45 minutes, it's done. Tomorrow, there's going to be less going in. So it's like there's almost this incentive to keep going in because you're going to get a better buy if you go in early. But if you go in too big, then you basically drive the price up for everybody. Because at the end of the day, there's a limited number of tokens, and all of these tokens will get distributed to all of these people. So yesterday, my 1,000 Tron got me about 171 tokens, I think. Right now, if it stopped, I would get 353 tokens. But if I was a whale and I had like 7 million right here and I was like, oh, I just want to dump it in, then I would hurt myself. I mean, on some level, that's brilliant. I would hurt myself because I would drive my own price up. So what you have to do is you have to keep going in each day. Keep going in each day. And as you go in each day, you sort of dollar cost average in. But there's so many interesting mechanics here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come over here and you're going to stake. Now, I'm not going to show you my staking because I've discussed on my channel my strategy for staking. I'll put that video above. I'll put it down in the description. I talked about what everybody else isn't talking about. And there's a mechanism on there. A lot of YouTubers are talking about getting as many DSP tokens as you can, getting as many DSP tokens as you can. It's not about DSP tokens. The people telling you that either literally do not understand how Hex ever worked in the first place, because you can find plenty of videos that talk about Hex, about it's not about the number of tokens. It's about shares. All the tokens that you stake, you get shares. The earlier you stake them, the longer you stake them, you get more shares. Here's what I'll say. You can go watch the video, but when you watch the video, one thing I didn't say in that video, DSP tokens are an inflationary asset. There's over 2 million added every day in the lobby. Shares is a deflation asset. Every time someone unstakes or instakes, shares are burned. There's only so many shares created in the entire ecosystem. I'll just leave you with that. Sooner or later, I will show you my staking. It will be probably months down the road, and I'll show you what I'm doing. You can get an idea if you go watch the video in the description about basically my strategy that I'm using, the strategy that most people aren't talking about. And I think the reason they're not talking about it is because you don't earn as many referrals. If people just stake once and don't unstake, then you don't earn as many referrals. I'll just leave that right there. I probably don't. Listen, if you're my viewer, my subscriber, you think objectively, you got it. Some of you got it. And I'll just leave it right there. Okay. But with that being said, here's the irony of it. By the idea of being a longer staker, like me and like some of my subscribers, the irony is we actually hold up the price. Somebody said, man, if you tell everybody to stake for a long time, you'll mess up the platform. You're not going to mess up the platform. You actually hold up the price. That was one of the things that Richard Hart did, was you decrease the supply because you get a lot of people staking. If a lot of people stake for a longer time period, not only do they earn more DSP tokens through their stake, they earn far more Tron because they have a lot more shares. But the other thing that happens is they hold the price up of the DSP token. All you have to do is go in on the platform and go in, and then at the end of the day, you stake. Because we get it back in Tron. You see, this didn't make sense. If, for example, even there's something called an emergency end stake. If you end your stake early, there's a penalty. In Hex, this penalty is steep. And the reason it's so steep is because you don't get the Ethereum. Once you pay with the main cryptocurrency in Hex, once you pay with that, where's my, here we go. Once you pay with this main cryptocurrency in Hex, once you put that in the auction lobby and you get your tokens right here, you get these tokens. Once that happens, then you don't ever get Ethereum back unless you sell those tokens. You can sell those tokens on other platforms, swap in other exchanges, and then you would get the Ethereum back. The penalty that you get charged is in these tokens. So hypothetically, let's say you have 1,000 tokens and you unstake early and you lose 20%, 25%, 30%, 50%, 100%, whatever. That's a problem in Hex because that is your only shot at getting Ethereum. So you don't want to lose too many tokens. But when they pay you, keep in mind, Richard Hart designed this I hate to say him, but for all intents and purposes, it's him. The Ethereum got locked up regardless. You emergency end stake if you want to. The Ethereum didn't care. Now that the devs created DSP, and by the way, DSP wasn't the first thing that was created. The first thing that was created was T2X. T2X works identical to DSP. It was first. T2X has been going a lot longer. They're on like day 94. People said DSP was going to kill T2X, but it hasn't killed it. Look, million, 2 million, 2 million. Now you might be saying, wait a minute. DSP's got a lot more than 1 million. That's right. And DSP's always had a lot more than 1 million. The most T2X ever brought in was 4 million. They've been running now for 90 something days, over 3 months. Let me explain something to you. Those of us that started on day 1 in DSP, we ROI'd within 48 hours. Like, it was crazy. Like two times going into the lobby, and we ended up ROIing. Why? Because 95%, hear me out, 95% of this got paid out to all these people who staked. 95% of this. When that happened, if you got in on day 1, you like, wow, this is already up to 7 million. If you got in on day 1, you were golden, like golden. And so every day, 14 million comes in, it goes here. So people are ROIing, and if this contract is stable, recently I did a video, and in that video, I talked about the risk of DeFi, whether it's, Hex, T2X, or DSP. I talked about the risk of DeFi. And one of the things I talked about is if the smart contract ever got hacked or had some sort of backdoor we weren't aware of, or admin keys, literally that would have to be what would have to happen. If all that is intact, then the DS and nobody can hack no one's hacked Hex. Hex has been around a long time. But the question is, did the developers change it? I don't know. I'm assuming not. Let's hope not. That's the risk we take in cryptocurrency. But if the smart contract stays intact, I mean, right now it's taking about less than a week to get your investment back. If that continues in the future, everything you invest, you get everything after that's profit. So if you stake for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever, a year, everything after that 90, everything once you get your money back, all that's profit. If people keep coming in at 10,000 plus for 6 months, or 5,000, or if it goes down to 2 or 3 million, 10 million plus, or 5 million, or it goes down to 1 or 2 or 3 million, and they continue to do that for 90 days, this is going to be insane. And there's no reason that it has to stop at 90 days. At first, I thought, here's what I thought. Let me explain this to you. I thought DSP would kill T2X for a couple of reasons. They give away less tokens. That's the wrong word, I guess. But they sell less tokens in the lobby every day. If you look over here, they do almost 4 million. They drop faster, I believe, on a percent basis. So the supply is shrinking a lot quicker. That's really good. So I think people say, why in the world did this one do so good, but T2X didn't do as well? I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the tokenomics look better. There's less tokens, and the tokens drop in price a lot faster, which means each token that you stake is more valuable. It's far more valuable. And because the potential earnings for each token is, and now that doesn't matter the first time going in, but the reason people get tripped up and they're like, no, you want as many DSP tokens as you can get. And that's really just a fundamental understanding, not understanding the math and how shares work and Hex, etc. But the reason that they say that is because once you get these tokens, so say you get 170 tokens. Well, when your stake ends, you don't have to buy new tokens. You can restake those tokens. See, that's what's going on with T2X. People just keep restaking tokens. And you just continue to earn. Now, there's 2 million plus tokens in DSP added every single day. So inflation does happen. The token value is going to go down over time. That's the only thing that I'm 100% confident about. People are like, yeah, but you can sell these tokens. I get it. But the token value is going to go down over time. But you still be able to stake the tokens and earn as long as people are coming into the platform. Now, someone said to me, what is the use case of DeFi staking? Let me just wrap up with this. Hex versus DSP. DSP is better than T2X because T2X proved the model. That's another reason why people came in. When this thing did not like just crash, it has not truly tanked at all. I mean, the dividends, let's see, look at this dividend chart. The dividends kind of went down, but they went right back up. And there's a reason they went down. It'll take it a minute to load. So the dividends basically peaked and went down, and then they're going back up. The reason they peaked like so fast like that right here, the reason this happened is because all the people who got in on these days right here, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, by the time this happened, they, in less than a week's time, basically from their staking, they all made their investment back. So people, and the first 2 and 3 days, all these people, they came in heavy. I mean, when they came in and they sold, I mean, they tripled up, you know, in many cases, maybe even more. The first month over here, I did a 10X over here, a 10X. It was crazy. I only went in the first couple of days. But what happened is I watched this thing. So even when this is where people cashed out. They stopped coming in. A lot of people cashed out. Like me. I was in the first 30 days and it was like, I'm done. I'll get to the DSP use case here in a moment. But I was right here. I was like, I'm done. And I'm certain a lot of people did. That's why I went down. But then it kind of consolidated. Divs stayed steady because people kept going back in, going back in, going back in. So they basically are kind of recycling divs, and probably some of the same people recycling the same dividends over and over. But it creates, people realize, wow, the tokens continue to earn. As long as the tokens are earning, so what? I'm never going to make my investment back in 24, 48 hours. That only occurred once. That's not going to happen again. I'm not going to make my investment back in 5 days or 7 days like people are doing right now on DSP. I'm not going to ever do that again. But over here, you know what? I'm making my investment back in 20, 30 days. Where else in the Tron ecosystem or the cryptocurrency ecosystem can I go in fully ROI in a 30 to 45 day, even 2-month period and still be able to earn a return after that? So the returns overall, the gross returns overall are still really, really good. That's why this thing consolidated like it did and it went right back up like this. And it continues to keep going. People thought DSP was just going to make it just totally tank. Now it's low right here, but keep in mind, it's probably going to go back up. This is middle of the day. It's probably going to go back up. It's going to be interesting to see where this ends up going. But if T2X can go for 90 days, then maybe it's possible. Not in financial advice. None of this is. This is just my thoughts, my observations. But maybe it's possible that DSP can go for 90 days as well. Now, I have a prediction. I have a prediction that another clone with a twist, and I've got 2 or 3 things that I think might happen, but I got a prediction that another clone with a twist is going to come out. But if it does, those of us that are in DSP now, that are already ROIing, we're going to have those tokens. If we want to keep staking tokens here to keep earning, we can. We're going to have all that Tron to be able to just go over there and quickly. And listen, there's very few things that keep me awake right now like DSP. Like last night, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like it's possible before this thing goes over with, like we could, 5X, 10X. It's mind blowing. By the way, I'm not telling you to get into this platform. Watch me FOMO, watch me profit, watch me lose. Consider this your crypto entertainment. But it's crazy if you stop and think about what is possible. Where is this going? Now, the use case for the token, someone said, well, the use case is it just keeps earning. Well, that's not a good use case long term. Like that's just not, because it's a dying use case. That can't happen long term. I don't think this is so much a use case as it's a very interesting model. And just like Hex was kind of revolutionary, I think T2X proved this concept and DSP took it the next further. By the way, 2 reasons that I may not have been clear. Reason DSP came in, it did so well early on, is because T2X proved a track record. When it had a track record like this, people were like, oh my goodness, if only I could have gotten in the beginning. So they did. I mean, 15 million. And I still think it's possible we could even see bigger days than this. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. But I mean, I believe that we could see even bigger days, especially because when people realize that you can't come in with 1 million Tron right here, but you at the same time, you kind of want to come in early instead of late. Because once you get those tokens, you only are going to keep earning if people see value in going into the lobby over and over and over again. If they feel like the tokens have value, and they've done a good job, so that not only have they proven themselves, has T2X proven the model, but DSP gave people a chance to start over, get in, and they have better tokenomics. That's the big deal. Now, here's a question. Do they take it to the next level? Right now, it's not really a use case as much as a distribution model. This is a very unique way to distribute tokens. It doesn't allow whales to snatch up all the tokens. And it rewards you for being an early adopter in the platform without over rewarding the whales who take all the tokens. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you can only buy. Now, granted, you need to come in kind of early. You know, I knew I needed to come in kind of early, kind of big. My strategy is I'm in 1,000 right now. And in the day, I may double, triple, quadruple this based on if it starts to be low. If it looks like we're going to end at like 10, 12, I'm definitely going to double it, maybe triple it if it's 10. If it looks like we're going to come in at 8, 9, which ain't going to happen, I may pull in 4 or 5 times that because I want to get as many tokens as I can as cheap as possible. Tokens relate to share value. That's important to know early on. Tokens are far more valuable per share early on. So I want as many tokens as I can get as early as possible. Again, watch my video on the one thing, my strategy, what most people aren't teaching you. So here's the thing, and I keep saying here's the thing because it's such an incredible thing. I want to know what the devs are going to do, if anything. If they don't do anything, it's been a great earning opportunity, and it's great to watch this distribution model to see what happens. They are looking to create an internal exchange. I've heard that talked about just like T2X did. But if they can create another use case, an actual verifiable use case, like there's a reason to use this token, outside of just holding it and just staking it. If they can create something like that, that's where inventive minds need to come into play. That would be incredible because it would give people reason to keep coming into the platform. It would give them another reason to want to own the token outside of just staking, just earning. Let's use the token for something else. I don't know what's going to happen there. That's part of the risk in crypto. But I think their token distribution model, by far, this is what this is a unique token distribution model. And I've not heard anyone else explain it that way or say it, but that's exactly what it is. It's a unique token distribution model. But because of that, if nothing else, in a few months, this just goes down. A lot of us who got in early are going to do well. Some of us will be able to sell our tokens. And then, we'll have to be on the lookout for what comes next. But listen, you got to admit something. Many of us watched Hex come out. And it looked unique. It looked somewhat revolutionary. Some people were skeptical of it, myself included. I was kind of late to the game with Hex. And I never went in super heavy. Nothing like I'm doing with DSP. Why? I did not know if Hex was going to be successful, but I knew that the adoption amplifier, I knew that the wallets gained to ETH was going to be highly successful. And then T2X came along, DSP came along, and they basically found a way to give us, the average people, not the whale developers, give the average people some of that main crypto, in this case Tron, and give it back. 95% comes back to us as holders. 95% comes back to us, those of us who got in early. I mean, that's a huge incentive. So we'll see where they go in the future. I got another video coming out that I want to talk about. I want to talk about Hex some more. I want to go into some details on Hex. And I really want to talk about I think Hex, there's a few things that I like about Hex that I really want to hit on a little bit more. And there's a couple things that I don't like about DSP that I want to hit on a little bit more as well. So I may save that for another video in the future. But listen, if you love cryptocurrency, you love being in this space, and you love the idea of being in front of a revolution that allows us to not only increase our own financial freedoms, but at the same time, be able to allow us to be able to profit by being in first, by being in early. If you love the concept of that, if you love the idea of that, make certain that you hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification icon. And at the end of this video, I'm going to put my playlist that I have right now, my full playlist, which is a full walkthrough tutorial on using the auction, staking, and it covers my entire strategy. The one that I told you a lot of people's not explaining, they're not talking about. I'll put that at the very end of this video. And if you want to purchase DSP tokens, use the link in the description. You'll be able to get 5% more tokens for free. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, crypto equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.